you. Now you just beat me to it. I was going to say, hey, you want to hit the record, but you hit it right before I could say it. So that's good. Miigwech. Let me open this PowerPoint up and make sure everyone can see it. I gotta share my screen. Hold on a second here. Forgot to push share screen. There we go. Share. Okay. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Good. Wannett. Ich bin Bodwewadmimwen16. It's bad if no one can see it, so that's good. So Bodwewadmimwen16. So we're going to talk about creating sentences today, and just kind of breaking apart the parts of what makes a sentence, if you will. So I've made a bunch of different sentences, and we're just kind of look at each of them in turn and kind of check them out. So we got Nish nekto shayak nagiwab mak iba basuk. Nish nekto shayak nagiwab mak iba basuk. So nish being two, nekto sha is just a horse, nekto shayak, more than one horse, nagiwab mak, I did see them. So nagiwab mak. The N on the front, that's the I part. The gi tells you it happened in the past. Wab ma is the verb to see something. That K there means that I saw them. Iba, over there. Bus is the lake, but then basuk is at the lake. So nishnekto shayak nagi wab mak iba basuk. So I saw two horses over there by the lake. Nishnekto shayak nagi wab mak iba basuk. Nija pi squatch eyeyak iba basuk. Nija pi squatch eyeyak iba basuk. When were you all at the lake? So Nija pi is when, Nija pi, squatch, last. Ye means to be in a certain location. That's the verb to be in a certain location. The yuk means you all. Iba, over there. Basuk, at the lake again. So bus lake, basuk, at the lake. So Nija pi squatch eyeyak iba basuk. And that yay is a good verb to remember anyway. Like I use it a lot when I'm saying like whereabouts are you? I could say like Nipija ejiyayin. So kind of like whereabouts are you at? Nipija ejiyayin. Whereabouts are you at? So that yay is a good one to remember, that yay verb. Osnago nagiba matagamen iba basuk. Bagaji takaboyamguk. Osnago nagi bamatagamen iba basuk. Bagaji taka boyamguk. So Osnago is the day before yesterday. So the day before yesterday, nagi bamatagamen, we went swimming. Iba, over there. Basuk, at the lake. Bagaji, a little bit. Taka boyamguk. The water was a little bit cold. Takaboya means it's cold or cool water. You can even use that word if you're talking about like a cold drink or a cool drink of something. Takaboya. Takaboya is the part that means it's cold or it's cool. And the maguk just means it is. So osnago, day before yesterday. Osnago, nagi bamatagamen. We went swimming, but not you. Iba, over there. Besuk, at the lake. Bagaji takaboyamguk. It was a little bit cool, the water was. Now, if we were including everybody in that, like we all went to, to the lake, it would instead of nigi, it would be gagi. So nigi bamatagamen. So we went swimming versus gagi bamatagamen. We all went swimming. Gikan nagi wabma iba dawao gumgok nago. Gikan nagi wabma iba dawao gumgok nago. So Gikan, your brother, nagi wabma, I did see him. Iba, over there. Dawao gumgok, at the store. Nago, yesterday. So one thing about a lot of those relative terms, and we went over some relative terms, I think in class 8, a lot of times they change based on who's talking about. It's like my brother, Nikon is both friend and brother, but Nikon, my friend or my brother, Gikon, your friend or your brother, Wekon would be like his or her friend or brother. So they change depending on who you're talking about. Same with like Nokmis, my grandmother, Gokmis, your grandmother, Okmis, his or her grandmother. So it changes based on who's talking about it. So Gikon Nagiwabma Iba Dawau Gum Gok Nago. And if you look at Dawau Gum Gok, that's the word for the store. Last class we talked a little bit about locations and like locative. I believe it was last class. Dawau Gamuk is a store. Dawau Gum Gok is at or to the store. Dawau Gum Gok to the store or at the store versus Dawau Gamuk, just store. And again, Dawe means to sell something. So it's the place where things are sold. Dawau Gum Gok Nago. Kanone Gagiwabma. Kanone Gagiwabma. Did you see the eagle? Kanone Gagiwabma. You might have also heard Ngizi. It's another word for eagle. Kanone Gagiwabma. Did you see the eagle? Kanone Gagiwabma. Now, this is an example of a simple question. It's one of those yes-no type response questions. You can make a yes-no question really easy if you just put that ne as part of it. You could even shorten it up and not make like a formal statement. You could just say like bishne, water question, copy ne, coffee question. So you can just use that ne to make those simple questions. And that's the easiest way to use them. I mean, again, you're usually just going to get yes-no type responses from those. Unless you have somebody who's real long-winded, likes to talk, they might tell you all about all kinds of stuff you didn't ask them. But Kanone Giwabma. Did you see the eagle? Cho Kanon Giwabmasi. Cho Kanon Giwabmasi. No, I didn't see the eagle. Cho Kanon Giwabmasi. So whenever you're making a negative statement, you have that cho, and then you also have the C on the end of the verb. So, well, usually it's on the end, sometimes it's in the middle, but that cho and that C indicates it's a negative statement. Cho Kanon Giwabmasi. So no, I didn't see the eagle. Cho Kanon Giwabmasi. I didn't see the eagle. Nipija Gaja yet Okano. Nipija Gaja yet Okano. Whereabouts was he or she, that eagle? Nipija Gaja yet Okano. Nipija, where? Ga, the past. Gaja is kind of like whereabouts. Yet he or she was. Again, that's that verb to be somewhere. Where was he at? Okano. So whereabouts was that eagle at? Nipija Gaja yet Okano. Now shpum sagok. Now shpum, excuse me, yeah, now shpum gok. Now shpum gok, directly above us. Shpum sagok is somewhere above, but shpum gok is above. So now shpum gok, directly above us. And that now is like right in the center. Now shpum gok, so directly above us. Now shpum gok. Kasinyam get gom. Kasinyam get gom. It's cold today. I wish it was, but it's Jatem get. Kasinyam get gom. It's cold today. Weekmoen gagasha. It's going to rain soon. Weekmoen gagasha. So again, Kasinyam get, it's cold. Gom, today. That we is telling you it's happening in the future. Weekmoen gagasha. Gaga just means soon. The sh is, it's called an emphatic. It just kind of adds a little bit of emphasis to it. So if you didn't have the sh there, it wouldn't matter. It would still be understandable, but it kind of makes the sentence flow better. Weekmoen gagasha. And usually we write gamoen for rain. It's gamoen, but it just sounds more like a K when you have that W-I there. So I just wrote it with a K. It's like week. It could be with a G, but it ends up sounding more like a K. Weekmoen gagasha. It's going to rain soon. Weekmoen gagasha. Kapinojes minowab managwaze. Kapinojes minowab managwaze. Your baby is beautiful. Kapinojes minowab managwaze. So gapenojes, your baby, gapenojes, bodwewadmimwen16. Bodwewadmimwen16. Here she is beautiful. Literally here she looks good, looks beautiful. Bodwewadmimwen16. So gapenojes, bodwewadmimwen16. You could also say bibis is another way to say baby. It's kind of a slangier way. Bibis, gabibis, bodwewadmimwen16. Your baby is beautiful. Or gapenojes, bodwewadmimwen16. Nijetso pongazet. Nijetso pongazet. Let me move this. I need to move these blocks so it's not in the way when the video does it. Nijetso pongazet. How old is he or she? Nijetso pongazet. How old is he or she? Pongazet means he or she is a certain age or a certain, literally certain snows old. Because when we talk about age, we're saying that a person has lived through like an entire winter, entire season. So there's so many winters or so many snows old. And that's what that verb pongazet is talking about. Nijetso means how much or how many. So how many snows has a person lived through? Nijetso pongazet. How old is he or she? Nish Gijon Gazet. Nish Gijon Gazet. 2 months old. Nish Gijon Gazet. So Gijon Gazet is a way to say months old. So Nish Gijon Gazet. He or she is 2 months. Gizis, it comes from like Gizis, the word for sun, but it's also the word really, if you go further back, I mean, it also sometimes used for moon. We'll say debuk Gizis, night moon today, sometimes talking about this, the moon. But that Gizis itself is kind of like, it's also inside of our words for the months. So like Optanibna Gizis, halfway through the summer month for July, or Daemon Gizis, strawberry moon, or Nemubna Gizis for sucker moon. Zisbaktoke Gizis for April, maple syrup and moon. So Nishkizon Gazet, 2 months old. Gigabe ne Yahweh. Gigabe ne Yahweh. Is he a boy? Gigabe ne Yahweh. Gigabe Yahweh. Gigabe Yahweh. I never try to assume anymore because you never know. Like I don't. Oh, what a pretty girl, boy. Oops, my bad. So it's a boy or it's a girl. Because I mean, clothing doesn't tell you anything either. I mean, because it's not like people are always. I mean, just because they're in blue doesn't mean they're not like a girl. So you have to be cautious of that. Gigabe ne Yahweh. Is he a boy? Gigabe ne Yahweh. Now, if you wanted to ask if he or she is a girl, Gigyago. Gigyago ne Yahweh. Gigyago ne Yahweh be is he or she a girl? Gigyago ne Yahweh. Gigabe Yahweh. Gigabe Yahweh. Nishpon Gazet. Nishpon Gazet. He is 2 years old. Nishpon Gazet. Now we did a little bit with ages when we were talking about numbers. We went through like our numbers. We learned that if you count to 10, you can count much higher in the language. But if you want to say like how old you are, you would say Nepon guess. I'm so many years snows old. So I would say like I just had a birthday, so I would say Niawab Tek Shech Nianan Nepon guess. I'm 45 years old or 45 winters old. So you'd say your age. So if you're 55, you would say Nianom Tene Shech Nianan Nepon guess. I'm 55 years old or I'm 55 snows old. And we went over numbers a couple different classes because I think they are pretty important to remember. But so, again, if you can remember your 1 through 10, you really can count so much higher in the language because it's like got, ni, shwe, niao, nianan, gotwatso, noak, shwatso, shak, madatso. And then it just kind of builds off that. Madatso, shech, got, 11, datso, shech, nish, 12. And even the words for like 20, 30 are similar to 2. It's like Nishwabtuk is 20, Schwabtuk is 30, Niawabtuk is 40. So, but we won't stay on that too long here. Let me move this box around again so it's out of the way. Nikipkosh. Nikipkosh. I'm sleepy. Nikipkosh. Orojopi bagaji. Kipkosh. Yeah, right now I'm a little bit sleepy. Kipkosh. Nijipi gambayan de bakok. Nijipi gambayan de bakok. When did you go to sleep last night? Nijipi gambayan de bakok. Nijipi, when. That ga indicates the past. Ba is the verb to sleep. Yin is you. De bakok is last night. Now, the baket is just night, but the bakok is last night. So, Nijipi gambayan de bakok. Nijipi gambayan de bakok. When did you go to sleep last night? Metsana ganabich got up to the buganak. Metsana ganabich got up to the buganak. I don't know, maybe 1:30. Scana. The Metsana, I don't know. Ganabich, maybe got up to, so 1:30 or 1:30. The buganak, maybe about 1:30. Nijipi gadokiyak. Nijipi gadokiyak. When did you all wake up? Nijipi, when, again, ga being the past, doki is the verb to wake, yuk, you all. So, Nijipi gadoki yuk. When did you all wake up? Nijipi gadoki yuk. Nianan de buganak, nagidoki. Nianan de buganak, nagidoki. I woke up at 5. Nianan de buganak, nagidoki. I woke up at 5. Jayak nagi do doknak gotwatso de buganak. I didn't put the English there, my bad. Jayak nagindo doknak gotwatso de buganak. So Jayak, everyone, nagi do doknak. I tried to wake them up. Gotwatso de buganak at 6 o'clock. So I tried to wake everyone up at 6 o'clock. I'm going to break this apart a little bit. So Jayak is everyone. Nagi, I did. That nado is a preverb to mean to try to do something. So nado, and then dokna is the verb to wake someone. The K means that you're waking them up. So I tried to wake them all up, gotwatso de buganak at 6 o'clock. So I'm saying I woke up at 5 and I tried to wake everyone up at 6. So jayak, nagindo, doknak, gotwatso de buganak. Jayak, nagindo doknak gotwatso de buganak. So I tried to wake everyone up at 6 o'clock. Chongim nombasi. Chongim nombasi. I didn't sleep well. And you kind of just flow right into that in. So chongim nombasi. I didn't sleep well. Chongim nombasi. So cho is your no. Nagi, I did. Mano, good. Ba, sleep. The C indicates not. So it's like, I did not sleep good. Now, if you didn't have the cho on there and you didn't have the C, it would be I slept good. If you just said nagim nomba, it would be I slept good. But cho nagim nomba si, I didn't sleep good. Chongim nomba si, I didn't sleep good. Zam jash nidanendam bawamshe gek pia gimbayan. I was thinking too much before finally going to bed. Zamjash nadanendam bawamshe gekpi egimbayan. I was thinking too much before finally going to bed. Zamjash, too much. Zamjash. Nadanendam, I was thinking. Bawamshe, before. Gekpi, finally. Egimbayan, before I finally went to sleep. Zamjash nadanendam bawamshe gekpi egimbayan. Nijetso de buganak. What time is it? Nijetso de buganak. Shak de buganak. It's 9 o'clock. I'm going to move this again. Shak de buganak. It's 9 o'clock. So shak 9. De buganak. It is. And again, de buganak literally means it measures out to, but it's used for the time. Shak de buganak. It's 9 o'clock. Occasionally, you'll also see people use Yahweh in that way too. They'll say shak yawuk, like literally it is 9. Shak yawuk. Apta de buket. Apta de buket is midnight. Apta de buket. Apta is half. Apta de buket, midnight. Just like up there a second ago, you saw goat apta de buganak for 1:30. Literally 1:30. It is the time. Goat apta de buganak. And that's usually an easier way to do it when you're talking about time in general, if rather than saying like Goat mina Schwabtuk debugging 1 and 30, just say goat up the debugging. It's easier. Nigizam Guam. Nigizam Guam. I overslept. I'm talking about all this sleeping make people tired. Nigizam Guam. I overslept. Nigizam Guam. Gawio Mikchawimne. Gawio Mikchawimne. Are you all going to work? Gawio Mikchawimne. So the G at the front and the M at the end of that is the you all part. The we indicates the future. That O is to go. Then mikchui is the verb to work in Paloy, mikchui. And then the ne makes it a question. So guio mikchuimne. Guio mikchuimne. Oh, gotta have a question? No. Just have. I thought I had a question. Oh, I guess somebody wanted to come in. Admit. Okay. Let's see, where was I? Chon mikchui singom. Chon mikchui singom. I'm not working today. Chon mikchui singom. I'm not working today. I always joke that I never work a day in my life because I truly enjoy teaching the language. So it's not even a task, if you will. Chon mikchui singom. Chon mikchui singom. Not working today. Again, cho, no. The N is the I. Mikchui is the verb to work. The C also indicates not, and then gom today. I have people always ask me, so if there's a cho and a C, is that like a double negative? No, it's just part of it has to be part of the entire sentence to indicate a negative statement. Now, occasionally you'll have verbs that are naturally negative, and you might not need that as part of it. Like, I don't know, like I hate it or something like that. But you can have some verbs that are actually negative in their natural way. But usually you have to have the cho and the C if you're trying to make a negative statement with the independent form. Now with the other form, the one with the yan, yin, ti, yak, that form, you put a bawa at the front to indicate something negative. But so there, and I like to think of it like this. It's like it's a double chance to hear what's being said. So maybe if you miss the cho, you catch the C, or you miss the cho, you hear the C. Okay, it was a negative statement. It's kind of a double chance almost to understand what's being said. So chon mikchui sin gom. Chon mikchui sin gom. I'm not working today. Chomshe nuijiasi. Chomshe nuijiasi. I'm not going to go yet. I'm not going yet. Chomshe nuijiasi. So cho again, no, but chomshe means not yet. Chomshe. Mshe by itself means yet. So if you use that in a different way, it would just be yet. But chomshe, not yet. Nuijiasi, I'm not going to go yet. I'm not going yet. Nui is in the future. Jia, the verb to go. Si again indicates that negative statement. So chomshe nuijiasi. I'm not going to go yet. Chomshe nuijiasi. Okay, make sure I don't have any questions. I'm going okay. Again, a lot of this stuff, I'm trying to just put some of this stuff together because we've talked about relatives, we've talked about weather, we've talked about animals, we've talked about numbers a lot, a couple different times. So we've talked a little bit about time. We've also described the independent form and the conjunct form on a couple different occasions, like how the namaji, gamaji, maji, namajiman, gamajiman, gamajim and majik, and then majiyan, majiyin, majit, majiyak, majiago, majiyuk, and majiwat. So we've talked about those several times, or at least a couple times, and I'm just trying to put those parts together so you can see it in a little bigger, well, in a little more complete form. I mean, it's one thing to know your animals or know your numbers, but if you can just be like dog, cat, weather, it's hot, you want to be able to say a little more. You want to be like, hey, it's hot outside, or hey, I saw 2 birds fly by, or whatever. You want to be able to say some more deeper thoughts. So that's what I'm trying to show you guys today. And then, but before we end, we're also going to talk some about those forms again, because to me, the number one thing to getting good at this language is getting these verbal patterns down, because the language is somewhat complex when it comes to the verbal patterns. And if you can get these in your head, if you can have them backwards and forwards and left and right, and you know them just bam, 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 then you can draw that information out real fast and be like, okay, I'm doing this, you're doing that, because you're going to have to be able to kind of figure out who's doing it, who's doing the action. And because, again, there's so many verbs in the language, you want to be able to understand these structures really well. It'll make everything so much easier, and you'll be able to start using the language and talking the language pretty fast if you can get these patterns down. You can just put different verbs in them. So I know I harp on that thought a lot, but I really honestly believe that that's one of the fundamental things to getting going with the language fast. At least it worked for me. It helped me. So find my next slide. Move this around a little bit. Got to move this down so it's out of the camera. So when this records, okay. Can now pin. Okay. Gabaktamne. Gabaktamne. Are you hungry? Gabaktamne. The G being the U, but the M being the you all. So gabaktamne. Are you all hungry? Gabaktamne. Nagonandam. I'm starving. Nagonandam. And that nandam part indicates like starving in general. Somebody's trying to come in. Oh, let me get them in here. But you can say like jibnandam to like go a certain amount of time, like stretching the amount of time of without food. Jibnandam. But gonandam is starving. So the gonandam. My children always act like they're in gonandam. I'm like, dang, like you're not that hungry. It's only been an hour or something. But if they want to be that way, if you want to be able to say that, or you want them to be able to say that, nagonandam, I'm starving. Nagonandam. Weknija ga gejepwisnian. Weknija ga gejepwisnian. What did you eat for breakfast? Weknija ga gejepwisnian. And there's actually a couple ways to say breakfast. You can say gejep. Like this is actually a compound. This is using the verb wisna, and you're actually making the verb to eat breakfast. Gejep wisna, to eat breakfast. But you can also say waben wisna. There's another way to talk about breakfast. You can say weknija ga gejep wisnian, or you can say weknija ga waben wisnian. There's even a third way you can say it. You can also make it where it's like a noun itself, and you can just say weknija ga wisnian waben wisnawen. Actually, I can think of a fourth and fifth way to say it now I think about it. But oftentimes there's more than one way that you can say a sentence or a phrase, and that's okay. It just shows the richness and the depth of our language that we can say things in a variety of ways and still be completely understood and get our point across. So, Weknija ga gejep wisnian. What did you eat for breakfast? Weknija, what? Ga, did. Gejep wisna, that morning, early morning meal. Yin, you. So what did you eat for that early morning meal? Weknija ga gejep wisnian. What did you eat for breakfast? Chongi gejep wisnasin. Chongi gejep wisnasin. I didn't eat breakfast. Chon, you kind of flow into that in. Chongi gejep wisnasin. I didn't eat breakfast. And that one, the C goes inside of there. Wisnasin. Nija we. Why? Nija we. Why? Chongi bakadesi. I wasn't hungry. Chongi bakadesi. I wasn't hungry. Chongi bakadesi. Nida makadeke nash naukwe wisnuan. This is kind of popular these days. Nida manakweke nash naukwe wisnuan. I'm fasting till lunch. A lot of people like to do that intermittent fasting or going a certain time without eating. Now, traditionally, when we talk about fasting, we're really talking about like going a much more extended period of time without food. And that word mkadeke, that word for fasting, is literally talking about blackening the face. Because traditionally, a person used to blacken one's face. They would take like ash or something out of the fireplace and they would blacken their face. The idea was if you went out and you were fasting somewhere, if someone came upon you while you're out there, they wouldn't accidentally offer you food like, oh, you like something to eat, because they know that you're out there fasting. And they also say that it's a way of kind of protecting the person too, that putting that coal on your face. And In fact, that's something that sometimes people will do at funerals for babies. If a baby's around a funeral, they'll put a little ash on their face to kind of that way that those spirits don't bother them and they don't think that they don't take them with them on that journey to their side, if you will. That ash, if you will. But so kadeke is that idea of fasting, and again, a lot of times early on, kids will do fast. They're like sun up to sundown, where adults will fast, much longer, 4 days or longer if that's something that they desire to do. So, nada nada medike nada mkadeke nash now quiet we snow, and I'm fasting till lunch. Nada mkadeke nash now quiet we snow, and I'm fasting till lunch. Nash means until. Nash now quiet we snow, and so now quiet that noon meal or that noon food. Nada mana excuse me, nida mkadeke nash now quiet we I'm fasting till lunch. Penojeak b'kadewak. Penojeak b'kadewak. The children are hungry. And like I said, in my house, the children are always hungry, they seem like. We could have just fed them. Just shook nigi shamak nepenojeak b'kadewak. I just fed my kids and they're hungry. So Penojeak b'kadewak. The children are hungry. Penojeak b'kadewak. Weknija wa wajandayin. What are you going to cook? Weknija wa wajandayin. What are you going to cook? Weknija, what? The wa is the future, so it's something that hasn't happened. It's going to happen in the future. Wajan, or excuse me, I said wajanda wa. Wajandayin. What are you going to cook? Weknija wa wajandayin. The yin is you. So Weknija wa wajandayin. What are you going to cook? Weknija wa wajandayin. Now, if you want to say what are they going to cook, you just change the yin to what. Weknija wa wajanda what. What are they going to cook? If you want to say what are you all going to cook, again, you change that yin at the end to yuk. Weknija wa wajanda yuk. What are you all going to cook? If you want to say what is she going to cook, he or she going to cook? Weknija wa wajandat. What is he or she going to cook? So all the information on those conjunct verbs is at the end of the verb. The yin, the yan, the what. And whenever you're asking the who, what, when, where type questions, not the simple questions like, like, are you hungry? Are you thirsty? But ones that have like, why are you doing it? What are you doing? When are you doing it? It's going to be in the conjunct form, that yan, yin, ti, yak, yago, yuk, what. It's in that form. And a lot of times the answer is going to be back in the other form, the independent. So you might ask the question in that, and then so that's why you kind of have to know both those forms to be able to talk effectively. Menomen mina gigoyak nui gabatonen. Menomen mina gigoyak nui gabatonen. I'm cooking rice and fish. Menomen mina gigoyak nui gabatonen. Cooking rice and fish. Now, one thing that I learned that a long time ago I used to think is because certain foods are animate, certain foods are inanimate. And I used to believe a long time ago when I was first starting to learn the language that, well, if I'm talking about an animate food, I'm going to have to use the animate form of the verb, and then the inanimate one, I'm going to have to use the inanimate form. So I thought I had to use both of them in the sentence. But then I learned later on that whatever you use first will basically trump the other one. So that being said, if you use the inanimate one first and then the animate, you can stick with the simpler VTI verb versus the VTA, which is a little more complicated. That's kind of a trick that you can do. So menomen was inanimate, gigo yuk, gigo fish is animate. But I was able to use gabaton, which is just to cook it, because I used menomen first. I used the rice first. And foods are, I know they're hard to kind of get your head around sometimes which ones are animate and which ones are inanimate. I wish there was a simpler like trick with them, but there really isn't, because things like mdamen, corn is animate, rice is inanimate, and then you got like beans are animate, potatoes are animate, but then carrots are not. And to me, there's not a real simplistic way of kind of logically saying this one's that. It really just comes with kind of like using them and maybe even drilling them a little bit to remember which ones are animate. But my personal opinion on that for as you're getting started is just go with your gut. Like if you know for a fact that it's an animate thing, then by all means treat it animate and do that way. If you don't know either way, just go with your gut. If you think, and it's not going to make the sentence ununderstandable, it's just going to be like technically grammatically incorrect, and that's, but you're still going to be understood, and then you can get corrected on it. Like, oh, somebody's like, oh, well, it's actually animate. Okay, and then you can fix it basically that way. So don't be too hard on yourself if you can't remember whether something's animate or animate. When it comes to food in particular, it's hard. It comes with time, it comes with usage. It takes a little while to remember which one's what. Other things that they're simple, like, oh, it's an animal, it's obviously animate, it's alive, a living being, or it's a person, it's obviously animate, or it's something spiritual. Those are even sometimes easier, in my opinion, than some of the foods, because to me, I mean, a pipe being animate or tobacco being animate to me is easy to understand. They're spiritual in nature, but the other ones maybe are not necessarily as easy to understand or to kind of guess, particularly like I said, food. But I'm rambling, so let me stop. Sorry. Wanet Kietnam Bakadeyak Odajopi. Wanet Kietnam Bakadeyak Odajopi. I don't know why I put a T there. I usually put a D for that. So it's Bakadeyak Odajopi. Odajopi right now. So it's good that because right now we are really hungry. Wanet Kietnam Bakadeyak Odajopi. It's good that you're cooking basically rice and fish because we are hungry right now. Odajopi right now at this time. Odajopi. Wanet. It's good. Wanet. Kietnam. It's really so. With Wanet and Kietnam, it's like, it's really good. Wanet Kietnam, it's really good. Bakadeyak, we're hungry. Odajopi, right now. Now, the reason Bakadeyak is in the conjunct is because Wanet is the verb for it to be good. It's good. It's actually a verb. So that's actually your second verb in that sentence. And usually your secondary verbs and the ones after that will fall into that conjunct form. But that's not 100% guaranteed. Some speakers will do things that maybe you don't normally think. Like I always think to myself, okay, the next verb is going to be in the conjunct. If you're a speaker, they can manipulate stuff sometimes the way they want to. I mean, they have that liberty, and you yourself a little bit have some of that liberty as you're learning your language. I mean, that sometimes they just don't follow some of those rules. I mean, sometimes there's like rules in place and you see people do things different. You're like, okay, so they didn't flip that second verb in the conjunct. Oh, well, they can do that. So and that can make things a little bit challenging sometimes when certain, or you can have certain like dialect differences within families. Like, I mean, one family might use a particular way of saying something where another one uses something a little bit different, but it's not too bad in the long run. Once you start to pick up the patterns, that's why if you understand the patterns, you understand the systems, you understand, the concepts of animacy, intimacy, everything starts to become clearer. And it gets to the point where you actually can almost second guess things, even if you've never heard them or never said them or anything. You just know it sounds right. It seems like, okay, that sounds like the way it should sound. And it's like, it becomes almost like second nature. It's hard to explain. It's kind of like in English. I mean, if somebody says something to you in English and it's broken English, you're like, oh, wait, no, they mean to say this, But even if you've never heard like the word, sometimes you know what's going on in the context of it. It's the same way with the language, Potawatomi, you understand it in the context of it. So the hardest thing sometimes is doing a literal translation of stuff. Like when you hear something, you're trying to get the gist. The number one mistake that I see most students make is they hear a word they recognize and they immediately kind of fixate on that. Like, oh my gosh, I recognize Namosh, or I recognize Kajo. I'm like, oh, okay, that's a cat. That's a dog. But the rest of the sentence then went by. So you're like, okay, something with a cat. And then there was a dog. And then John showed up. And you're like, okay. And you're like, something happened. I don't know what it was. But there was a dog, cat, and John involved. Well, that's good. You got some of it. But that's why you almost have to listen to the whole thing, like the whole sentence out, and then try to even rethink it, the whole sentence in your head. It's easier to do that. But it takes time to kind of practice doing that. Because again, you get excited. You're like, man, I recognize that word. I recognize niche. I recognize, niao, bam, bam, okay. And you get like excited about it. And then, like I said, the rest of the sentence went by. That's when you got to be like, Mina Kadon, say it again. Or Noch Badan Gadonen, say it slower. Noch Badan Gadonen, say it slower. So, Jishuk Nagi Wisen. Jishuk Nagi Wisen. I just ate. Jishuk Nagi Wisen. I just ate. Jishuk means like it just happened. Jishuk Nagi, I did eat. Jishuk Nagi Wisen. Now, when you're talking about eating, it changes if you're talking about the food itself. Wisna is the verb to eat. And if you just say, what are you eating? When are you eating? It's wisna, okay? Which changes to wisen in the first person. But once you start talking about the actual food you eat, like you mentioned the corn, for example, corn's animate, so you have to change it to the animate eat, which is mwa. So I'd say mdamen nagimwa, I ate corn. Or if it's inanimate, you have to change it to mijin, to say eat it. So if you were talking about eating carrots, I know. Trust me, I understand. But starting out, just stick with your Wiesen, and it'll work its way out. Eventually, it starts to make more sense like that. But because it's so much different from English, where we just say eat, doesn't matter if you're eating corn, doesn't matter, you're just eating. Same with cooking, you're just cooking. Doesn't matter if you're cooking something, but with Potawatomi, it changes based on the thing that you're eating. So again, go with your gut and just roll with it, and eventually you'll figure it out. I'm telling you, it starts to make a lot more sense the longer you're with it. So, did you all already eat? Did you already eat? So there's a simple question. So so the G and the M at the end is the you all part. The gi is the past. Gish means something that's already happened or after in a way. Gagi gishwisamne. Did you already eat? Gagi gishwisamne. Konige nagi gishwisnaman now qua wisnawan. Konige nagi gishwisnaman now qua wisnawan. So konige or for yes, nagi gish, and then the men at the end means the we. So the N and the M and the N and the men is the we, but not you. The gi is the past. Gish means it's already happened. So konige nagi gish wisnaman now qua wisnaman. Apparently I didn't translate that. So yes, we already ate lunch. So yes, we already ate lunch. We ate that noon meal, that now qua wisnaman. Konige nagi gish wisnaman now qua wisnaman. Okay. Hopefully I don't have this in front of anything again. Oh, yeah, no, there we go. Let's see. Okay, so I'll make sure I can move this around a little bit so it's out of the way. Well, actually, it's not in the way right now. Dang. Okay, I'm just going to leave it there for a minute. Let's keep messing. I'll move it as it gets down to the bottom. That way it's not in the way when we're actually at that point. Ken up, Gagejaman. Hurry, let's go. Ken up, Gagejaman. Hurry up, let's go. So ken up, hurry. That Gagaman is let's do it. Jia, go. So hurry, let's go. Ken up, Gagejaman. Hurry, let's go. Or just remember, ken up. You can yell, hey, ken up, hurry, hurry. Ken up, Gagejaman. Hurry, let's go. Nijawi Kayin Besien. Nijawi Kayin Besien. Are you in a hurry? Or why are you in a hurry? Nijawi Kayin Besien. Why are you in a hurry? Nijawi Kayin Besien. Kayin Beze is to be in a hurry. Kayin Beze. Kayin Besien. Why are you in a hurry? Nijawi Kayin Besien. Gotwatso Dawau Gamakwi Gabak Nagadak. That's a reason. Gotwatso Dawau Gamakwi Gabak Nagadak. The store is going to close at 6 o'clock. So Gotwatso at 6. Dawau Gamak, the store, we Gabak Nagadak. It's going to close. So, and I could have put Debuganac in there, but it made the sentence even longer. So I just said at 6, it's going to close. Gotwatso Dawau Gamak we gabak nagadak. So gotwatso, 6. Dawal gamuk, the store. Now this one's not at the store, just the store. So dawal gamuk versus dawal gumgok at the store. It's going to gabak nagadak. Gabak nagadak means it's going to close, it's going to shut. So gotwatso, dawal gamuk, gabak nagadak. The store is going to close at 6. Gotwatso, dawal gamuk, gabak nagadak. The store is going to close at 6. Let me make sure I don't have any questions. Wait a minute. Okay. Biskamok. Biskamok. You all get dressed. Biskamok. That means you all get dressed. Biskamok. Biskin is just telling one person dress. Biskamok, everybody get dressed. And it comes from the verb biskan, to get dressed with something. Biskamok. Nagone gigi nesap konye. Did you wear that yesterday? Nagone. Literally, did you wear the same thing yesterday? Nagone gigi nesap konye. Did you wear the same thing yesterday? I don't know about you guys, but I have this issue with my kids. They'll try to get out of the house with the same clothes on. I'm like, you can't wear the same thing you wore yesterday. You have to change clothes. Nesap means the same. Konye means what you wore. So nagone gigi nesap konye. Did you wear that yesterday? Or literally, did you wear the same thing yesterday? Nagone gigi nesap konye. And that konye, you see that on the end of a lot of words talking about wearing certain clothes. I think we might have talked about that a little bit in that class about breaking words apart. I talked about like makde konye, talking about the black robes, the ones that wore black, or Johnny Cash, depending on how you want to look at it. But the one who wears black, makde konye. But this has nesap konye, nesap being the same, so wearing the same thing. You could also say, like, you can change. That's the thing. Once you understand how these verbs work, you understand these parts, you can be very precise in the way that you talk. Like, you could be like wearing green. You could say like skeb konye. Maybe you're wearing green for like St. Patty's Day or something, or for Earth Day. Skeb konye, wearing green. So nagone gigi nesap konye. Did you wear that yesterday? Did you wear the same thing yesterday? Konage gabadi nigi nesap konye nesja bakan biskoagan yawak. Konage gabadi nigi nesap konye nesja bakan biskoagan yawak. Yeah, I wore the same pants, but it's a different shirt. Okay, well, that's not good either. So konage gabadi nigi nesap konye nesja bakan biskoagan yawak. The other one that my kids like to say is, oh, but I don't have the same bito gabadi on, the same underwear. Change underwear. Okay, well, that's great, but you're wearing the same clothes you wore out yesterday. So konage gabadi, pants, nagi nesap konye nesja bakan, different, biskoagan, shirt, yawak. So I wore the same pants, but it's a different shirt. Oh, askonyen, go change. Oh, askonyen. That O right there on the front there means to go do it. Askonye is the verb to change clothes. Askonyen, change clothes. If I just said askonyen, it'd be change clothes. Oh, askonyen, go change clothes. Oh, askonyen, go change clothes. Just like if I said mban would be telling somebody sleep, but you really can't force someone to sleep unless you're like, I don't know, go to sleep, bam. So usually you'd be like, go to sleep. Omban, go to sleep. Omban. So Atebadoni waskonin juganin. This one I have to slow down a little bit. I say this word a lot. It's a big sounding word, but once you say it a bunch, it really rolls off your tongue pretty easy. It's Atebadon ni waskonin juganin. Atebadon, turn it off. Ni, those, waskonin juganin, lights. Again, that word sounds really big. The word for one light is waskonin jugin. Waskonin juganin, lights plural. But again, if you say them a bunch, it's like atebadoni waskonin juganin, turn off the lights. I know it's a mouthful though, but it's like, so it's atebadon And ate badon can work for a lot of things. You could be like, turn off the TV, turn off the lights. Um, you could use it for really any type of object you're turning off. That badon means you're doing it with your hands. So ate badon, you're turning it off. And if you look at the word ate itself, it also is the word that we use when we talk about extinguishing something. So if we were talking about like extinguishing a fire, you use ate too. You put the fire out, you extinguished it. But in this sense, it's almost like literally like extinguishing it or putting it out with your hands. Ate badon. So turn it off. Ate badoni waskonin jiganin. Ate badoni waskonin jiganin. Turn off the lights. Ate badoni wabnotakshkin. Turn off the TV. And then that word for TV, that wab part indicates visibility, like it's visible, like you can see it. That notakshige indicates a sound. Back in the day, notakshige used to be used for TV, radio, all kinds of stuff, because at one time it was the only thing that made noise was the radio. So it was just notakshige. And as new technology arrived, another one that people use too is mesnatuk is another one that you'll hear sometimes for TV. And that's talking about the way that it makes a picture. It kind of paints a picture. It makes this image, if you will, on the screen. But wabnotakshkin means that thing that you can hear and you can also see. Ate badoni wabnotakshkin. Turn off the TV. Ate badoni wabnotakshkin. Let me see here. I'm trying to watch my time. We got a little late start, but I want to make sure I catch myself here. What time is it anyway? I want to make sure I get to all my slides. I don't have my clock on me. Oh goodness, is it really? Well, I say it's 6:59. Dang. Okay. Well, we're gonna get through the door. So here we go. That's because I ramble too much. I apologize. I have zamdone. I talk too much, but I like to believe that some of this rambling is useful, because I think talking about some of the inner workings of words and stuff is fascinating. So hopefully you think that too. If not, I apologize. But Gadoji Tamne, are you all ready? Gadoji Tamne. The Wijita is the verb to be ready. So if I said I'm ready, I would say Dojita. Like right now, I'm ready. Dojita. Or here I got Nomak Nwio Jita. Nomak Nwio Jita. I'll be ready in a minute. Nomak Nwio Jita. But if you just want to say like I'm ready, Dojita. I'm ready. Abduk Nui Debian Kweke. I'm going to have to curl my hair. Abduk Nui Debian Kweke. Gonna have to curl my hair. That deb part is talking about making things like in a circular way. It's like almost like using the old school curlers, where you curl it around it, because that same deb is inside the word for like bowling. You're tossing it out like that. But you're curling it around. So, and then that anque part is the part that's talking about your hair, and then the K indicates you're doing something with it. So nui debyan. I'm gonna have to curl my hair. Ntano gada wiokwane. You should just wear a hat. Ntano gada wiokwane. You should just wear a hat. Wiokwane is a hat, but when you put that E on there, you've actually made it into a verb to wear a hat. So ntano only gada wiokwane. You should only wear a hat. Ntano gada wiokwane. Cho nagakindesin etoyan I no wiokwane. Chon nagakindesin etoyan I the wheel quan. I don't know where I put my hat. Chon nagakindesin etoyan I the wheel quan. I don't know where I put my hat. Oh, scan. How many pages do I have yesterday? Hold on a second. Dang. Okay. Well, I'm gonna have to do. Well, I think what we'll do is, we might go ahead and jump into. We'll come back to this another day. We're going to go look at the actual verbs themselves, because I want to make sure we go over those again. So we'll come back to these next two next time. I got talking too long, and we'll add something with it as well. But I want to look at this in particular. I want to go through these patterns that we were talking about with you again. So independent, the conjunct, like we've been talking about. Namaji, I leave. Gamaji, you leave. Maji, he or she leaves. Namaji men, we but not you leave. Gamaji men, we all leave. Gamajim, you all leave. Majik, they leave. This pattern right here is fundamental to getting to speaking in a language. This is a VAI verb. These are our basic type verbs, but you really want to learn this pattern in the independent. And then on the other side is the conjunct. And again, in the independent, if you're asking a simple question, you use the independent. If you're asking a more complicated who, what, when, where type question, you're going to use the conjunct. Also, if there's multiple verbs in a sentence, they'll usually go into the conjunct. So like if I said, I'm going to buy something when I go to the store, Nui gishpinadon gago, epich yayan dawa gumgo. The jia to go, I did in the conjunct, the yan. And a lot of times, if you ask the question in the conjunct, the answer will go back in the independent. So if I said like, when are you going to leave? Nija piwa maji, and when are you going to leave? I would say, wabak nawi maji, I'm going to leave tomorrow, using the future with the independent. Now, underneath this is the past tense. I didn't put the future with it, but it's done the exact same way. So, nagi maji, I left. Gagi maji, you left. Gimaji, he or she left. Nagi majiman, we but not you, left. Gagi majiman, we all left. Gagi majin, you all left. Gi majik, they left. And then in the conjunct, it's either ga or egi. I use ga a lot more probably than I do egi, but you can use either one. And some speakers will favor that egi instead of the ga. So ga majiyan or egi majiyan. Ga majiyan, you left. Or egi majiyan, you left. Ga majit, he or she left. Or egi majit. Ga majiyak, we but not you left. Or egi majiyak. Ga majigo, we all left. Or egi majigo. Ga majiyuk, you all left. Or egi majiyuk. Ga majiwat, they left. Or egi majiwat. In the future, it's basically the same thing. Instead of gi, it's we. So I will leave would be no we maji, go we maji, we maji, we majiman, we majiman, we majim, and then we majik. Almost the same as this over here, but instead of ga, it's wa for the future. So wa and ewi. So wa majiyan, I will leave. Wa majiyan, you will leave. Or ewi majiyan. Wa majit, he or she will leave. Wa majiyak, we but not you, will leave. Wa majiago, we will all leave. Wa majiyuk, you all will leave. Wa majiwat, they will leave. These are so important to getting down. If you get these down and then like you understand your demonstratives and stuff, you are on your way to really speaking language. So I apologize for being long-winded. We will go back and we'll hit those last ones next time. I think next time I'm going to do something with prayers. I've been talking about doing, I keep forgetting to do one about prayers. I know a lot of people would like to learn how to pray in the language. So I'm making myself a mental note. Like I said, I've said it before and I apologize. But I actually started thinking about it after the class started. And I was like, wait a minute, I did talk, but it was too late at that point. So, but yeah, we'll do something with showing you guys how to do a simple prayer, how to create a prayer you can use in the language. And then we'll also finish those last two slides also. So, miigwech, again, gisa nindam zamdone. I'm sorry, I'm talk for